Hey, what's up YouTube? I am making an update to my Lightning Conduit Trickster video. I promised you guys I would continue to update you guys on the character and how it's going. I had a bit of a rough start. I ended up dying early on, and then I died again. I'll show you guys those clips in this video. But basically, it wasn't really the character's fault. I did a couple things that were really stupid. Is what it is. I've been enjoying this league a lot, actually, and I feel like it might be mostly because of the build. I mean, a lot less loot is dropping, and it seems like everyone else hates the league. But I've been enjoying it quite a lot. This character is quite fun to play, and I want to talk about some mechanics that I've learned since I made the first video. I think most of this I already kind of knew, but I want to go through it and explain it to you guys because I've been asked a lot of questions on stream. Trickster versus Elementalist. Trickster is quite a bit tankier than Elementalist, especially early on, but Trickster in reverse struggles a lot more with damage. This is because Elementalist guarantees shocks, while Trickster, you have to scale your damage. So as Elementalist, you're scaling the 15% minimum shock. Once you get 320% effective elements, you have a 65 shock, regardless of the monster. Like even if you're doing an Uber boss or a white monster, you have the same shock. As a Trickster, however, you don't have a minimum shock value to scale. So you're completely reliant on the amount of damage you're dealing. This means that in order to have a high shock, you need a high amount of damage on your shocking skill. So in our case, this is Orb of Storms. Now, a lot of people ask me about why Orb of Storms instead of like Hydrosphere or Stormbrand, or even some people are using Castle Channeling Divine Ire. It should be obvious now, but basically Orb of Storms hits a lot harder than these skills. But I personally think Orb of Storms mechanically is just a lot stronger. So the way Orb of Storms works is every time you cast Orb of Storms, it shocks, you use Lightning Conduit, it procs it again, and it shocks again. So I think mechanically Orb of Storms is just extremely strong. The main downside of Orb of Storms is you generally have to stand pretty much in melee range of the boss. But since we're a Trickster, I don't think we necessarily mind that as much. We're kind of playing like a melee caster type character. So it's completely fine. This does mean, however, that Elementalist does get a lot more options in the terms of like what ability you're shocking with. I want to talk about my Orb of Storms links now. So I tried out quite a lot of different setups for Orb of Storms, but basically I settled on LE Prolif, increase AoE, and Overcharge. These ended up feeling the best for mapping. The reason for this is because increased AoE not only increases how big the orb is, but it also increases the radius of the Prolif gem. For whatever reason, this does not scale off Tree Prolif, so we're taking the Chain Mastery instead. Now, a lot of people like to use Chain Gem, but I felt like it was a lot worse. You're lowering your hit damage, and it felt unnecessary when I had the other gems in. This has felt like the best for me, personally. You can try it out if you want. For single target, since we are relying on damage for shocks, we can swap out LE Prolif and increase AoE on Orb to have a bigger hit damage. Things like Lightning Pin or add lightning or crit damage if you're playing crit. Elemental Overload. You might be wondering why EO is never up on Lightning Conduit. This is because it either crits the entire cast, or it doesn't crit the entire cast at all. Like none of it will crit. Which means every cast you have one chance to get EO. This makes crit quite good for even non-crit. You need a decent amount to maintain your EO for Lightning Conduit. And that's about it for the mechanics. There is a couple pieces of gear that you guys should look out for. Specifically, the implicit on the boot is pretty important. Like you either want Brittle or Scorch boots. This is one of our main ways to increase our damage. We're already scaling Ailment Effect, so both of them become quite a bit better. I think you can get up to like 5% Brittle and a decent amount of Scorch. I do, however, think you really want to get like a higher like quality one, like higher duration. Otherwise, it'll feel a little bit annoying. This character, however, is a pretty much melee character, so it should be okay to keep it up. Thunderfist. So I didn't really talk about this last time I made the video. I mentioned it in the notes, but I didn't really talk about it. These are extremely important for a Trickster. If you're playing Trade League, this is your high priority item to buy. These will make it so you have a really high shock, even on Ubers. It increases your orb damage by quite a lot, but it also gives you a ton of ailment effect. I talked about the Vertex already, but basically you get to run a Divine Blessing aura, and that's quite nice as well. I guess one thing I didn't mention about the Divine Blessing, you do have to drop Wave and Hex Touch, which means you have to self-cast Connectivity or get a Connectivity ring. And you would lose exposure, right? Like lightning exposure, which you usually get on Glove Implicit, but if you're using Thunderfist, you don't have that option. However, you can use Awakened Lightning Pin, which would give you lightning exposure back. So that's a pretty nice option if you want to use Thunderfist, which I would recommend doing in Trade League. I quickly went over the gear I have, and I'm not going to talk about too much, but a lot of people have been struggling to gear this league. and I just want to go over and talk about how I personally have got my gear in SSF. So I have a really insane scepter. This was quite a bit luckier than I was expecting to get, honestly. I have some good weapons in my stash, but this one's pretty insane. This dropped out Syndicate. So Syndicate is one of the better ways to get gear now, especially in SSF. I have this crazy scepter, and I got a minimum frenzy and minimum endurance charge ring from Syndicate. The Syndicate's just really good for getting a lot of decent gear, which brings me to my next point. Onslaught and Kill. You really, really want to get Onslaught and Kill on your boots. This is going to help your map clear speed quite a lot. And the frenzy charge ring is quite nice as well. That'll make you shield charge a lot faster, cast a lot faster. It'll just make the character feel a lot better in general. The other two ways I would recommend to get gear this league is Expedition with ROG. This is a ROG glove, basically. Suppression, res, life. I have a ROG amulet as well. There's a ton of stats. ROG belt. Ton of life and res and whatnot. ROG is really good at getting loot. You have a decent amount of items if you just do some Expedition. Heist is also quite good just for getting general currency. But this isn't a video about league currency and like what you should do for leagues. This is a Trickster Conduit update. But I feel like I should just mention that while I was talking about it. I'm not gonna go into the gear too much. Let's look at the tree. Not much change in the tree. This is basically what I planned, except for a few changes. I have grabbed one of the evil just for before I get like a lot of chaos resonant gear. This is just gonna help out a lot because yeah, chaos damage is one of the only things you have to worry about. This helps a lot. Grab the mastery for some extra damage. I ended up not getting nimbleness, and instead I got Arcane Expanse instead, which is because of Orbis Storms, the way like it was clearing, Arcane Expanse has made it feel a lot better. And that's basically the only change. Everything else is pretty much the same as what I had in the original video. If you guys want to watch that, I'll put that in the description along with both POBs. Hope you guys are enjoying the league like I am, and I'll see you guys next time.